Have you ever stared at your cooker oven timer knob and wondered what program to choose with regards what type of food you're cooking? Cookers today have become highly complicated when it comes to the amount of choice of functionality. In this video, I'm going to be showing you what all the symbols mean with regards what program you're choosing and what type of food to cook on these programs. But more importantly, I'm going to be explaining what elements are in use or what other components are in use when using an individual program. This will help you diagnose problems much easier if you do have a fault on your oven. Hi, welcome to How to Repair. I'm Paul and I'll be showing you all the functionality on these symbols and what the programs mean. Position 1 on this cooker is just the light fitting. The light will come on in the oven. If your light is not coming on, you may either have a problem with the power supply going to the actual bulb holder or a problem with the bulb. Checking the bulb is easy. You only need to actually do a continuity test on the bulb, or you can do a voltage check on the bulb holder. United Kingdom and Europe will be between 220 and 240 volts. The United States, I believe, use 110 to 120 depending on the voltage supply. The next symbol you can see is the convection oven. This is a line at the top and a line at the bottom, indicating there are two elements in use when using the convection oven. On this oven, for example, it is using an 1100 watt on the base element, and it is using part of the grill circuit on the actual top element. This means that we will have a combined wattage of 2200 watts plus the light plus a cooling fan that may be running during the cooking process. So if I turn the thermostat on to start pulling power, you can hear the fan motor come on, the light is on, and also those two elements are in use. You can see on the multimeter here that we are actually pulling 2400 watts approximately, and you would be able to obtain that you are getting a 240 volt reading on the base element, and on one of the circuits on the grill element, you should be getting a 240 volt reading as well. The next symbol is the defrost. The defrost does not use any of the elements. It actually uses the fan motor to blow room temperature air around the food that you're trying to defrost. This can be quite a long process. It may also be worth putting a drip tray at the bottom of the oven to collect any water that defrosts. The next symbol on the dial is the fan oven setting, but you will notice there is a basket underneath it. This means that the oven can be used on fan oven, or you can air fry with it, which I'll explain in a minute. This only uses the fan oven element and the fan motor to cook the food. It cooks slightly quicker than the conventional convection oven, and is normally a 20-degree differential between using the fan oven compared to cooking with the convection oven. For example, if you were cooking at 180 degrees using the convection oven, you may only be required to cook at 160 degrees using the fan oven setting. It has a tendency to cook more rapid than the conventional convection oven, and therefore can dry the food out. You can use multiple shelves when on this process. Now, the elements in the oven, on this oven, draws 1800 watt. We have the fan motor running, and we also have the cooling fan running as well, and the light. So on the meter here, you can see that it's pulling approximately 2000 watts. You would be able to test the element using the multimeter to make sure that you have voltage at the element if you do have a problem. You would also be able to do a different test with continuity with the oven unplugged from the electricity supply to test the element, or you would be able to use Ohm's law to test the element. Now, when it comes to the air fry process, this is no different in the cooking side of it, but you will only be able to use one tray in the oven, and that is the basket for the air fry process. But I do recommend putting an additional tray at the bottom of the oven to collect any residue that comes off the food. Okay, the next symbol we can see on the dial here has got the fan oven motor blade and also a line underneath it indicating that this uses the fan motor in conjunction with the base element. You will also notice, if you look closely, you can see a couple of little other symbols in the top right hand corner, and this is indicating that this program can be used for some type of steam cleaning. I normally only ever use this program for warming up plates or possibly reheating food, as it only draws a very small amount of wattage. If I turn the thermostat on now, you can see that it's only drawing 1300 watts of power. That is because it's only using the base element, 1100 watts, the fan motor, the cooling fans running, and the light is on, of course. If you want to test the element, this is a good setting for testing just the base element. You would be able to do a 240 reading at the element to establish that it's getting power. Then you'd be able to disconnect the appliance from the electricity to do a continuity test on the element, or possibly an ohms reading test to work out the wattage of the element. Okay, the next setting on the dial is the actual symbol that shows a 3D cooking according to the manufacturer. I call it conventional convection oven combined with fan oven, and I'll explain. If I turn the dial on, you will see the greatest wattage that we've seen so far on these tests being drawn. We are pulling approximately 2600 watts of power, but the symbol is actually showing us that it is using the base element, the fan oven element, and also the grill element. In other words, all three elements are in use when cooking on this function. It is really designed for cooking on a single shelf and maybe something like a large roast or something like that that you want to cook evenly. But the wiring on this is quite complicated. Now, when testing each individual element, as we have done in other tests, you will see that we are reading 240 volts. But on this setting, the selector switch changes the configuration of the wiring on the elements. The fan oven element is being used directly on a 240 volt circuit. So as you can see, when testing across the circuit, you are actually seeing 240 volts. But when we test for the voltage on the base element, you are only seeing 110 volts. When testing the circuit that we are using on the grill, you are still only seeing 110 volts. This might be quite confusing. But if we tested one wire feeding in to the actual grill element in conjunction with the wire that is feeding in on the base element, we get a reading of 240 volts. This is because the base element and the grill element on this setting is used in series, meaning that the two elements are linked together in a series. This basically drastically reduces the amount of wattage being drawn by these elements. We should be seeing 2200 watts because each element is 1100, but because they're wired in series, when measuring across each individual element, we are seeing 110 volts, 110 volts on the grill element, but when checking the feed going into the grill and going across to the base element, we're getting a reading of 240 volts. By having the elements in series, the manufacturer is able to reduce the wattage being drawn by these two elements. So what you're roughly seeing is approximately 550 watts of power being drawn combined on the grill and the base element, and 1800 watts of power being drawn on just the fan oven element. Adding these two numbers together, we're getting approximately 2350 watts of power being drawn by the elements, and then we've got the cooling fan, the fan motor, and also the light and any other electrical displays, giving us a combined wattage of 2600 watts. Manufacturers have to do this because some cookers are only a 13 amp supply. Other cookers may be higher wattages. In other words, they have a 6mm cable going to them, which is a 30 amp supply, and therefore the manufacturer is able to wire the oven differently when it comes to this type of setting. I hope I explained that easily for you and you understood it, but it is quite complicated when it comes to this setting, and really only this setting on the oven. The next symbol we have on the display is the grill function. This is just a ziggy line going across at the top. You may even have two settings for this on your cooker. This will depend if it has a setting for the inner grill and a whole grill, or just one setting as with this cooker for the whole grill. When turning the thermostat on, as it's using the whole grill, it is using the inner circuit and the outer circuit, which is 2200 watts. That combined with the cooling fan that's running, the light and the other electronics, we have a combined value of 2300 watts. If you suspect your element is faulty, again, all you need to do is test across the outer circuit for the outer part of the element, and of course the inner terminals for the inner circuit. You should be getting 240 volts at that connection for the UK, 220 for Europe. And also, if you suspect your element is faulty, you would be able to unplug it from the electricity supply and then do a continuity reading on each individual circuit, or you could use Ohm's law to calculate what the wattage value is of the element. Okay, the next function and program is my favorite. Yes, it's pizza, and I eat far too many of them. This is indicated on the symbol by the fan oven element with the fan and a line underneath it, meaning it uses the base element as well. It draws the most power on this cooker, and both of the circuits are a 240 volt circuit. When turning the thermostat on, you will see that it's drawing about 3300 watts, and this is the combination of 1100 watts or thereabouts for the base element, 1800 watts for the fan oven element, and of course you've got the cooling fan and the main fan motor running, and of course you've got the light and other bits and pieces, and that's pulling 3300 watts in total power. I normally cook my pizzas somewhere around the 200-degree range, and then it normally takes no more than about 10-12 minutes, but you do need to let your oven get up to the right temperature before cooking. Okay, the last program on this selector is the Eco Fan Oven setting. The only difference between the Eco Fan Oven setting and the other fan oven setting is it doesn't use the light bulb. You're going to save 25 to 30 watts. When turning it on, it's exactly the same in the wattage it draws. You're using 1800 watts for the fan oven element, plus the fan motor and the cooling fan. So you can see on the display here that it's drawing approximately 2000 watts. Again, exactly the same testing procedure as the fan oven for making sure that the cooker is working correctly. I won't bore you with any more. Thanks very much indeed for watching this video. Do remember, if you do need any parts for any of your ovens, do use your model number, which is normally on the side inside the door or on the back of the oven. Put that into the website and you'll find any parts you need for your cooker, oven, or even range cooker. There are many videos to assist you in replacing components on our YouTube channel or on the website. And if we've really helped you with this video, please remember you can support the website by donating and buying Paul a beer. Thanks very much indeed for watching.